Okay, this is the instruction video for doing the XL 3D mover. This is a basic Christie setup. They're all mostly the same. There's a couple of exceptions you'll see in the instruction manual where this rod has to move out for one of the barcodes, and one of the other barcodes will remove this rod altogether and just put the bracket right on the aluminum. But that's covered in the instructions if you have those machines. So first thing we got to do is you got to remove your 3D box, put it someplace safe, put the wires back out of the way as well because you don't need them right now. And we want to jack the plate up because we got to get into these screws underneath. It's a good time to make sure that the front and the back rails are perfectly level. You can level the stand while you're at it and make sure everything's moving smoothly. The one problem we have a lot is these front blocks. There's 4 plastic blocks underneath that hold on the rails. The front blocks sometimes come loose and they can bind it up. So now is a good time, jack it up. You can tighten up those front ones if you need to. Okay, so for now, I'm going to take out these screws, which I've already loosened. And we discard them. We don't need them anymore. What we got to do is put this plate in, which means these plastic blocks are going to fall off when we do that. Like that. Okay. And now I'm rough line that up with my eyes. Now I'm going to take a 1/2 inch with a flat washer. I've already prepared these just to make it faster. So 1/2 inch with a flat washer in the hole that's on the outside here. And we're going to put a longer bolt on the inside one because it's got more thread to hold on to and it's better. So there's the front one in. The back one is a 3/4 inch with a flat washer. And we get them in. Okay, and then this one, the plastic block fell off, as it always does. Pop that back in, and 1/2 inch for the flat on the outside one here. And 3/4 inch for the flat for the inside one. Plastic blocks, you're screwing into the plastic blocks obviously, so just don't torque them down too tight. And what I find is if I slide it all the way to the one side, the blocks all press against the outside blocks and it lines them up and they're square. I've got this thing to tighten them up with. It's just a ratchet with a hex bit on it. That side, and I'll slide it to the other end. Get these ones square. Okay, so that's mounted. Next, we're going to mount our actuator bracket onto the rail. Again, another 1/2 inch with a flat washer. Put it through the hole in the actuator bracket, and we're going to mount it to the outside one. These T-nuts don't sit square in the slot sometimes, so you might have to wiggle it a bit to get it to start taking thread. Another 1/2 inch with a flat for the front one. Now, what happens with these T-nuts is they're not flat on both sides. They're flat on the one side. So when they're in the aluminum channel, if you tighten them up, they'll press into the channel and lock themselves in position. So if you back these off and try to wiggle them around, they don't just move. You've got to actually loosen them again. I push them in and it comes loose. But just be aware that don't snug them down until you're ready to do it, until you're ready to make them perfect. So now I'm going to line up the two T-slot or T-nuts in this one. So what and this happens is we've got this side is empty, that one has 2, this one has 2, this one has 2. You have to trust me, it's at the other end. So what we want is the slot with no T-slots in it faces the projection screen. So that's the way it's going to sit. Now before I do that, I'm going to roll it back. I want to get these guys roughly in position where they're going to go because I'm going to mount this rail and it's kind of a blind thing to do. So there, that's close. Flip it over once, twice, and we'll see how hard it is to get these screws in. There it goes. Okay, don't snug them down yet. We need to do some adjusting. And this one. we're going to roughly locate it. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the holes in the bracket are going to be the center of the actuator. We want to make sure that they can be basically over top of the T-slot, the empty slot like that. So that's good. That'll be parallel and square when we get the motor mounted. So that's good there. Now we got to mount the other actuator bracket. This is what I'm talking about. This one here got snugged down and now it's jamming. So I loosen it and push it, and now I can slide it again. Good. Okay. So actuator bracket goes this way. You want to get 1/2-inch bolt, 1/2-inch and a flat washer. Put them through the back hole in the actuator bracket and mount it. Now we will snug this one down because it just stays right at the end of this T-slot rail, so we don't need to move it again. Okay, let's snug them down a bit. There we go. Okay, so now they're mounted. Now what we want to do is put in the actuator. So we get our colorless clevis pins. That. This one here like this. Okay, so now the actuator is in a retracted position, so we'll slide this over until it's to the end of its travel. And I'll just put my finger underneath to make sure there's no gap in the block. And there it is, because I'm on this wooden cart. There, okay, so now we can snug everything down like that. Okay. Easier for you because you're working on an actual mounted bracket. I'm working on a box. Okay, so that's now firmed in, and I'll just snug this one down too. Okay, so now we can actually make it function and see if it's going to travel nicely. So take your control box. We're going to plug the Molex connector in, and then we plug in power. What happens is it wakes up and it goes through a cycle back and forth. So we're just going to make sure it can move smoothly, and then we'll worry about mounting the box. So it takes a second. It's booting up in a little Arduino in there. That's what you're seeing. And now it should extend. Oh, and oh, it hit the side there. So this is a good example. What's happening now is it has sensed an obstruction, and it's preventing itself from moving, which is exactly what the safety equipment is for. So let's see if I can get it past that. Okay. So now it's gone into protection mode. This is covered in your instructions. When it does sense an obstruction in the path, it goes back a little bit and then it freezes, and now it won't do anything until I hit reset. So now I've reset the system. Traditionally, you could just go to the projector and go 2D, 3D, and it'll go back and forth as you change the channels, but I'm just going to reboot this and we'll run it through again. Waking up, and there we go. A little burp to let you know it's going to go, and then it starts to move. Goes to its 3D position. Pauses for a second, and I'll go back to 2D. It does this on every wake up, every time you reboot it. And there it goes. Okay, so that's the basic installation done. I've given you these extra pieces because sometimes you need this guy to move back or forth a little bit, so you can mount it into the slot like this or like this and push it out of the way with these. We've given you a couple of extra screws. You will need some of these nuts for the Barco if you have to mount the actuator bracket right onto the aluminum plate. But that's the basic hardware. To mount the box, what we've done is we've got holes here, a couple of extra screws, and you can mount them into T-nuts on the back side here, so it kind of hides away from everything. And if you mount it over on the non-operating side of the projector, it won't get in the way of anybody and they won't bump into it and knock it off. As far as the signal goes, what you want to do is you go to your projector. You're going to go to your PIB on your projector, and you've got your 3D plug-in. You want to unplug it from there, bring it over, plug it into one of these two plugs. These are two parallel DB15 plugs here. So whichever one it fits into, plug it in. And then with the new cable that we give you, you want to go from the box back to the PIB. So I don't have a spare cable, but you get the gist of it. So you want this to come from your 3D signal, go through the box and go back out to the projector. And then that way everything will run. That's it. Make sure you take it all apart again, snug down all the screws that you put in, and dress your wires, and you're good to go.